Have you ever told yourself, I shouldn't feel this anxious, I just need to be stronger, more prepared, more healed? That's what most of us believe, that worry means we're broken, that it's a flaw, a failure in strength or character. But Carl Jung saw it differently. He didn't say, stop worrying. He said something far more haunting and more liberating. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So the real question is, what if your anxiety isn't weakness, but a message you've never been taught to decode? Let that sink in. Maybe your worry isn't weakness. Maybe it's not even about what you think it's about. What if the real cause isn't outside of you, but inside? Not a deadline, not a bill, not what someone said or didn't say. What if the tension you feel is the result of something you've never fully seen? Something buried, forgotten, an unloved version of you that still lives in the shadows of your mind. See, the mind doesn't fear pain as much as it fears the unknown. And worry, that spiraling, restless energy, isn't just a signal that something is wrong. It might be a whisper from deep within, asking you to look closer. So what if worry isn't the enemy? What if it's the beginning of something deeper? Let's talk about that. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had a moment of calm? Maybe you're on vacation or sitting quietly at home, and yet, out of nowhere, the anxiety returns. You're not in danger, nothing's wrong, but it's still there. That quiet buzzing in your chest, that low hum of unease. That's not random. That's not weakness. Carl Jung believed it's the unconscious trying to speak. The parts of you that have been pushed away, finally asking to be seen. But instead of listening, we've been trained to manage it. We meditate, we journal, we take deep breaths to survive. Just one more day. And don't get me wrong, those things help. But they treat the symptom, not the source. Jung didn't say, calm the mind. He said, go underneath it. Because maybe that anxiety isn't about your job, your bills, or your future. Maybe it's about the version of you that never got to speak. The part that was angry. The dream you buried. The truth you never told. The boundary you never set because you were scared it would cost you love. Jung called this the shadow, the hidden self. And worry? And what do we usually do? We try to outrun it. We stay busy. We overthink. We overshare. We work ourselves into exhaustion, hoping that productivity will give us peace. But it doesn't. Because the wound isn't external, it's internal. Carl Jung didn't teach us to escape our shadow. He taught us to meet it. Because real healing doesn't come from thinking your way out. It comes from presence. And not just being present in some mindful, abstract way, but truly being with yourself, especially the parts you avoid. Think about it. The fear, the guilt, the ache you've tried to bury. Those feelings don't disappear just because you ignore them. They hide behind the curtain, pulling the strings of your choices, shaping how you react, even how you see yourself. But here's the shift. When you give those feelings a name, they lose their power. When you acknowledge them, they stop needing to scream for your attention. You stop living in reaction, and you start reclaiming your life. Imagine this. You walk into a quiet room, and there it is, your worry. Not screaming, not flailing, just sitting in the corner, present, silent, watching. And for once, you don't rush to fix it. You don't reach for your phone, your to-do list, or some quick distraction. You just sit down and you look at it. Then you ask, what is this really made of? Does it sound like someone from my past? A parent? A voice I inherited? Or maybe it's just fear, tired of being ignored. You see, worry doesn't always want control. Sometimes it just wants to be acknowledged, to be seen, not as the enemy, but as a part of you that was never held with compassion. And here's the truth. You don't have to call this a spiritual journey. You don't have to name it shadow work or inner healing. You can just call it being honest with yourself. Because that's what Carl Jung was really pointing to. He wasn't asking us to cure the chaos. He was inviting us to integrate the parts we've denied, not to fix them, but to finally let them come home. And maybe that's what peace actually looks like. Not the absence of fear, but the courage to sit beside it. Here's something no one ever teaches us. Worry is almost never about what it says it is. It wears masks. It pretends to be about you. Carl Jung didn't treat worry as a flaw. He treated it as a signal, a message from the parts of us we've buried or forgotten. And if we stop trying to silence it, if we stop numbing it with busy schedules and positive thinking, we might finally hear what it's been trying to say. Because worry isn't the villain. It's not trying to break you. It's trying to bring you back to something real, something honest. And maybe, just maybe, it's asking for your compassion, not your control. We spend so much of our lives trying to fix the chaos outside of us, organizing our calendars, tweaking our routines, checking one more box. But the truth? Peace doesn't come from control. It comes from something much harder, honesty. The kind of honesty that looks in the mirror and says, I see you. Let's sit with this. No fixing, no escaping, just presence. That's what Carl Jung was pointing to. He didn't ask us to eliminate our inner chaos. He asked us to name it. Because once you name the emotion, it loses its grip. But when you don't, when you keep running, numbing, perfecting, that worry doesn't fade. It shapes you. It becomes part of your identity, not just a passing feeling. And it's sneaky. You start worrying about being liked, so you shape yourself into someone others approve of. You fear failure, so you avoid risks, even the ones that could have changed your life. You worry about being too much, and little by little you shrink yourself to stay acceptable. Can you see it now? Worry isn't just about how you feel. It's about who you've become trying to avoid feeling it. But peace? Peace begins when you stop performing and start telling the truth, to yourself first. Somewhere along the way, we start building a version of ourselves that isn't fully real. It looks polished. It looks stable. It gets praised for being calm, productive, reliable. But if you look closely, it feels hollow. Because that version, it's not your true self. It's a mask, one carefully constructed from years of worry. Worry about being liked, so you shape your words just right. Worry about being good enough, so you chase achievement like your life depends on it. Worry about being too much, so you shrink yourself to fit the mold. Carl Jung called this the persona, a socially acceptable version of you. And while it may help you function in the world, it slowly buries who you actually are. What's wild is, we start to believe the mask is us. We call it being grown up. We label it being responsible. But deep down, many of us are just exhausted from the performance. And here's the scary part. Jung warned that the persona can fool even you. You can live decades chasing an identity built not on truth, but on fear. So, if something in your life feels off, like you're performing, even when no one's watching, you're not alone. It might not be failure. So, how do we take off the mask? Not the one you wear in front of others, but the one you've worn so long, you forgot it was ever a mask at all. Carl Jung believed the answer wasn't force. It wasn't about fixing or healing everything overnight. It was about presence. Not presence in the room, but presence with yourself. The messy parts, the scared parts, the ones you've tried to silence. See, you don't have to be fully healed to come home to yourself. You just have to stop fighting what's already inside. Most of us try to quiet the thoughts. We push them away. We tell ourselves, I shouldn't feel this. But what if you didn't have to silence your mind? What if you simply chose to walk beside it? This is what Jung meant by shadow integration. It's not about conquering your fear. It's about reaching for its hand and saying, let's go anyway. Because not every worry is a setback. Sometimes it's an invitation. An invitation to come closer, to listen, to reclaim the parts of you that have waited patiently in silence. And maybe, just maybe, that's how the healing begins. Not when you conquer what scares you, but when you're brave enough to face it without flinching. What if the goal was never to eliminate worry? What if the real goal was simply to understand it and stop letting it drive? We've been taught to treat worry like a fire alarm, something urgent, something dangerous, something to silence as fast as possible. But maybe, just maybe, worry isn't a problem to fix. Maybe it's a compass, a subtle, persistent signal pointing you back to the parts of yourself you've ignored. And ironically, it's the constant attempt to escape it, to outrun, overanalyze, or suppress it, that keeps us stuck in the loop. Carl Jung never told us to destroy our darkness. He reminded us that darkness isn't brokenness. It's duality. It's the tension between the parts of you that are afraid and the parts of you that are still moving forward. You can be uncertain and still be growing. You can feel fear and still walk your path. You don't have to wait for perfect clarity before you take a step. Integration isn't about becoming fearless. It's about becoming whole. It's the quiet courage to say, I feel the doubt, and I'm still showing up. So the next time worry whispers, pause. Don't try to erase it. Ask what it's pointing to. Because maybe your fear isn't blocking the path. Maybe it is the path. What if you stop treating worry like something broken? What if instead of fixing it, you got curious? Not to control it, but to understand it. And if you're ready to go deeper, to explore the parts of yourself you've hidden, abandoned, or misunderstood, I've been creating something for you. It's called the 7-Day Shadow Work Journal, a digital guide designed to walk you through the terrain of your inner world, one step, one day, one truth at a time. Each day focuses on a theme: self-worth, inner child wounds, emotional triggers, control, guilt, fear. Not to shame those parts of you, but to meet them with compassion. You'll find grounding explanations, meaningful journal prompts, and open space to reflect, honestly, quietly, without pressure. Because this isn't about perfection, it's about coming home. It's about returning to the self you were always meant to be. So, if something in you is ready, Stay tuned. This journey is just beginning, and I'll be right here walking it with you.